Good morning. This is the Blaine's World webcast that can be found each week on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. You can also listen in on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, and you can get more information and listen to previous shows on our website, which is kind of behind me, blainesworld.net. I'm your host, Blaine Greenfield. I'm here in my Zoom studio in lovely downtown Fairview, North Carolina. Each week, we will focus on positive news and good stuff by a lot of people in both Western North Carolina and throughout the country. And to that end, it's my pleasure to introduce my two guests tonight, and they are Anuel, I think I got it, Director of Western Women's Business Center, and also April Nash, who's an intake, is a coordinator or specialist with that organization. And you can wave to all your fans and friends who are watching this. So if you're watching this, that's Zuri, and that's April. Give a big wave, Zuri. There you go. Okay. I know a little bit about Zuri's background. She serves as director of the Western Women's Business Center. In that role, she oversees the strategic direction and day-to-day operation of the center, which seeks to promote entrepreneurship in the Western region of North Carolina. And by the way, Zuri, I should know this. You're located out of where?
Our office is located inside the Asheville Mall.
Oh, so the actual know. Okay.
Yeah,
Know that.
yeah.
Cool. She was previously director of the Carolina Small Business Development Fund's Latino program. Prior to this position, she was Latino program coordinator for Mountain Business Works and worked for over a decade as a personal baker at Wells Fargo. So what, did you started at the age of 7? Was that it? The youngest person?
I don't want to say that out loud, but yes,
Okay, but
I
the
did.
youngest personal banker in the history of Wells Fargo shows a bachelor's degree in commerce and financial administration from the Central University of Caracas in Venezuela, and has a certificate in economic development, finance, and business credit analysis. And April, I'm a little at a disadvantage here, so I don't have your background. So I'm going to ask you to share that as well, your background. If you can keep it to under like 10 minutes, you think we can do it for 10?
I think we can.
Okay, just the
Yes.
highlights. Okay. And your
Yes,
background,
yes.
if you would, please.
Sure. So I actually started my career off at the early age of 22 with assistance from the Small Business Administration in Macon, Georgia. And so over a career in risk management and as a registered investment advisor, I had the great joy of moving out here about a year ago and connected with the wonderful, amazing people at the Western Women's Business Center. And I'm just so thrilled to be able to come full circle and give back what was given to me at the beginning of my career.
And that's really cool. You were mentioning the beginning of your career. So you were assisted by the center. Who assisted you when you began your career?
So the Small Business Administration has centers all across the United States, and in Macon, Georgia, based out of the University of Georgia, I received my first training on how to balance ledgers and how to file the necessary forms to incorporate as a business.
Okay, so let me ask you the question as a follow-up. So you're from originally Georgia? Is that where you grew up as a child?
Right, not. I am a military brat, so I am from all over the U.S.
So as a military brat going all over the country, did you always know you wanted to be involved in small business?
Oh, yes. Oh,
Did
yes.
you?
Yes. Business has its a unique ability to create the American dream. So whatever it is that you are passionate about, whatever it is that you want to make your life into, whatever you want to add to this world, business, owning your own business is a beautiful vehicle to put great things into the world. It's a creative outlet, and it helps lift people and communities out of poverty. So it's such an amazing vehicle. I've always been very passionate about it.
And so, sorry, the same question. When you were growing up as a child, did you always know you wanted to be a director of a women's business center? Was that your goal as a little child growing up in Venezuela?
No, it was not. I actually can say that this job was pretty much an accident, a beautiful accident that I fell into. Growing up, as you know, a lot of Hispanic Latino businesses has their business entrepreneurship in our DNA, right? We grow up with families that are creating businesses not to create wealth, but to create an income so then they can provide for themselves and their families. So it's how I grew up. My mom running side businesses, my brothers, my sisters, everyone was doing a little bit of something. And then coming to the US, I can say that my American dream was different from any other American dreams. I came to the US seeking for medical health for my oldest daughter. And then as I was connecting with the community and receiving support from the community, I was able, like April said, to find these wonderful programs that are offered in North Carolina across the state, and lucky and blessed to be able to take a position with these programs. So I have been working for community development financial institutions for over, oh my goodness, 14, 15 years. And it is nice to say that it is my job and I do get paid for it, but I do this with passion because I understand the community that we serve. And it gives me an opportunity to pay forward to the people that don't have a voice.
Now, with the Women's Business Center, how long have you been with them?
I joined, so just to tell you a little bit more about the Western Women's Business Center, we are a program under the Small Business Administration that is sponsored by a nonprofit organization that is a community development financial institution. So I joined the nonprofit organization in 2015, and the Western Women's Business Center was born in 2014. So I came a year later, and I had different positions within the organization, and I just joined the Western Women's Business Center team during COVID in 2020.
And so for the benefit of the people who don't know what the Western Women's Business Center is all about, if you would tell us what it is.
Yeah, of course. So we are a program under the Small Business Administration. We are over 148 centers nationwide that is supporting small businesses, targeting women entrepreneurs. And we support them by providing group trainings, access to capital, and also business education, which is individual one-on-one consulting. And that's what April does. She is the face of our center. So any business idea that is out there or any business that is in the process of expansion, April will meet with them and run a business need assessment and identify the need. And in a lot of the time, she is able to do the one-on-one coaching section herself and make sure that that business either goes to the right place or gets some of the tools that we already have in the center so that they can move forward with their project.
If you would, April, talk about then what Zuri was just mentioning. So if somebody's watching this program, I guess the one key thing, so it's for women primarily or exclusively, is that correct? You're working with women. And so if a woman is listening to this and are they thinking of starting a business, or do they have the business off the ground? When do they come speak to you?
The first time they're not sure what to do. So our niche, and we have a beautiful ecosystem here in Western North Carolina of business support entities. And so it's wonderful to be part of that ecosystem. But for a woman that is in the ideation phase, that she has a great idea, but isn't sure how to execute, or is a subject matter expert in one particular area, but has never run a business before and wants to start their own business, or if a woman has already started a business and is experiencing challenges and is not sure where to go for confidential, trusted advice that isn't biased or trying to sell you something, we are an amazing resource, and our resources come at no cost to all of our resources are at no cost. So we are here as a service for our community.
If you would talk a little bit more then about the resources. So as Zuri mentioned, they would come see you conceivably initially for an intake session. And then what happens after that?
So our intake sessions, we typically go over what is your idea, what is your passion, what is it that you're trying to create into the world, and then we talk about a little bit about, okay, so what are your goals? Where does this business, what does it look like when it's reached maturity? What are your personal goals? What are you going to get from that? And what are the challenges that you're experiencing? Kind of a current state and a future state for what you're wanting to happen. And then we can do some gap analysis. What are the things that are challenges to reach that future state? And then once those are identified, I always work really hard to make sure I'm listening. And so I repeat back what I've heard so that our clients can tweak it if I'm not understanding correctly. And then I line them up with the resources that match their need, whether they're experiencing, whether they want a larger market share and they're not sure how to reach their audience, whether they're not sure if the business is a feasible business idea, or they already have everything kind of wrapped up and they're looking for access to capital. Whatever those challenges are, we address that by connecting them with the correct resource.
And talk a little bit about that, Zuri, if you would. You were mentioning the idea of capital, but we should emphasize the fact that or I shouldn't say this, you're not a lending institution, is that correct?
So our host organization is a lending institution for the community. The Women's Business Center is a technical assistance program.
Okay.
So how they work together is the Women's Business Center is here to provide that technical assistance support and make sure that that business that is looking for funding is ready for capital infusion. So we work with other organizations, and also we have our own business consultants in-house that we can help a client to be loan ready. So we help them build those packages. We make sure that they had the bank statements they need, the cash flow projections, that they understand their unit costs, that they understand the break-even analysis, all of those beautiful numbers that businesses are afraid of. We make sure that they understand those numbers, and when an opportunity comes, they have that opportunity and they're ready to go. Because something that we noticed with COVID, there was a lot of lending and capital infusion for businesses, but it was first come, first serve. And we noticed that a lot of the businesses that we work with are those businesses that are not advanced. So they were not able to get advantage or to get under any of these programs because they were not loan ready. So something that we're trying to do as a program is to make sure that a business, even if they don't need that capital infusion now, that they are ready. So when they need that capital infusion, they don't have to wait and they can apply right away.
Okay, well, let me ask this question as a follow-up. In terms of the process itself, how long does it take from when somebody comes to see you the very first time to the standpoint where they graduate and you never see them again? Or hopefully that never happens. But typically, what should a woman be prepared to go through, and how long should it take?
Sure. It's a fairly painless process. Our website has links to my calendar. And so that calendar is up and available at any time. So it's really based on the client's availability and how that syncs with my calendar. So that's a very easy first step. Then we fill out, I send out a couple forms because of course we know life doesn't exist without paperwork.
Right.
And those forms are really about walking us through what your current state is. Are you incorporated? Details about the business that it really helps me to know before we speak. That first appointment typically lasts about half an hour to an hour, so that the entrepreneur has a chance to really express their idea and flesh that out. And then based on where they're at and what their needs are, if they are wanting to, we have classes that are up on our website at all times about access to capital or how to build a financial plan. And those rotate, so they're not the same ones, but those are live classes. We also have our Vivid Academy that is available 24/7, where business owners can go and receive an hour of instruction on a topic of their choosing. So those are available 24/7. If they do need assistance, or if a consultant is a good fit for them, that typically happens. That referral is made same day, and they typically meet with a consultant to go over their specific niche business need within 2 weeks. And that's a maximum. It usually happens within a week.
You were mentioning these courses, and I hadn't realized that. So are they online, or are they in person, or a combination of the two?
Combination of the two.
Yeah. So when you offer the courses, where are they offered?
So we have some in our physical location in the Asheville Mall. And then we also have some with, excuse me, in coordination with AB Tech. Those are all listed on our website. So the location's always included with the course information itself.
And since you mentioned it, Zuri, I'll ask you to just highlight the website. That address is what?
Yeah, it is www.bcnc.org. And when you visit our website, you can see what April was talking about. We have a section that speaks on technical assistance and how to get in touch with April and what that process looks like. Then we have a section that talks to you a little bit more about our group trainings and events that are coming up. And it will give you details on location and time and things that you need to do before taking the training, like registrations and things like that. And then you also have a section on access to capital. It will give you more details on our lending and more information on who to talk to.
You have some people come in the door who have like no background in business, or just have a dream, I guess, back to what we were talking earlier, but then just come in and know none of this stuff. There's a lot of information out there they have to pick up. Do some people start from scratch with no knowledge?
We do a lot. So before moving to the Asheville Mall, we were located at the AB Tech building in Inca Candler. So that didn't happen much there because people were not able to see us. But now that we have a storefront in the Asheville Mall, we get to see that more often. People come in just wanting to know more about what we do and who we are. And then, believe it or not, a lot of people have business ideas, and they're great ideas. And when they see you and they know that they can talk to you, it's kind of like, let's just do this. So we have a lot of walking people, not even with the idea of starting a business, but because they know we're there, they're now starting to get more involved.
And make a mental note next time I'm at the Asheville Mall. Where exactly are you located?
So we are inside the Asheville Mall where McAllister used to be.
Right.
It's right by that entrance. So if you use those doors, if you come in through those doors, walk to the end of that hallway, and we're going to be on the left-hand side next to the cookie place and right beside dealers, the main section.
Okay, so yeah, I know it. And that's really cool. So when you're there, what are your hours typically? Is somebody there all the time?
Yeah, so we're there Monday through Friday from 9 till 5. We ask people to give us a call before showing up because we are a very small team and we have a lot of events in the community. So sometimes the whole team is out either attending an event or visiting a client or even at lunch. So it will be better to give us a call. However, if you are in the Asheville Mall, just walk by and we'll probably have someone there.
And since you mentioned it, I'll have you give, if you would please, the website again is, what was the address again, please?
It's www.bcnc.org.
Okay, and again, not again, but if you would also give your phone number?
Yeah, of course. So the office number is 828-633-5065.
And one of the nice things, April, that Zuri just mentioned, so if you work for the center, as you do, you even get, she mentioned you even get a lunch break?
I know, isn't it shocking?
I mean, that was, it comes right away, or she had to work a couple of years to get this lunch break. But that's
It's a perk right off the bat.
okay.
Yeah, pretty nice.
At the mall, the food court, unfortunately, food court used to have a lot more places than it used to have. So it doesn't have, unfortunately some places closed.
They know us very well. The food
They do.
court knows all of us very well.
Well, you know, I was impressed just from a business standpoint. I was at the mall the other day, I hadn't been there for a long time, but it was more crowded than I thought it would be. You know, even though it seems to get good foot traffic, but it's sad that a lot of businesses have closed. There are a lot of vacancies still. Is that true? Is still the case at the center, a lot of vacancies?
Yeah, sadly, that is the situation with a lot of malls. And April, you can add to this. But one of the reasons that we moved to the Asheville Mall is because they want to reach out to the small business community more. And that is for the same reason that you just mentioned. They have so many empty spaces and they're trying to support the small business community. So
Nice.
they are willing to work with small businesses and organizations like ours to give you flexible payments. You can rent a space for the weekend, for the month, for 6 months. So they will work with you. And that is a win-win. It is a win for the mall because they now don't have an empty space. And it's a win for that small business to be exposed now to a new clientele and to expose their businesses. So that was the main reason we moved there. And another reason was because they allow us to bring a holiday pop-up event every year where we bring small business owners that don't have a location into the Asheville Mall, and they're able to sell their products on a Saturday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. So we had done 4 of those holiday pop-up. We do one every year. And the last one, we grew from 35 vendors to 50 vendors. So we'll set them up right in the hallways in the open area, and we promote those businesses, and we have a lot of people attending. So it's a great opportunities for those small business owners to be exposed.
Well, let me ask you in terms of this, which I hadn't known, so thanks for sharing that. I mean, it's really kind of cool. And I've seen, like I said, when I've seen a whole bunch of small businesses there, do any of the people, or have you had this at all, April, where they've started with you when it's pop-up events, and do they take place in the mall, or have you had any graduate to where they're going to have business in the mall itself? Have you had that yet?
Not that specific situation, but different business owners have different goals. Some of our business owners do have the goal of having a brick and mortar, and we have absolutely had those success stories. But some of them, they're looking to be a wholesale supplier. And so we're able to connect our businesses with the local community and get their products or services out into the community and help them support themselves and their families.
And I think it was April mentioned the I don't know who was mentioned, but about the AB Tech. Talk a little bit about that also as a place for some graduates who work with you, and they can actually have a location at the Anchor campus. What are what do they call those? You can rent space at the center.
Incubator?
Yeah, talk about that. Do some of your folks wind up there as well?
I don't remember. I mean, we've been working with the program since such a long time. No, yes, they have. And they were a few businesses that were running businesses as a warehouse where they were packaging and doing all that work in the AB Tech building. And then for the holiday pop-up event, we had 2 businesses that end up renting a space for a short period of time with the mall in the past. So yes, so we have seen that.
Let me ask kind of both of you, talking about success stories. Give me an example of conceivably a success story, April, for example, that you've worked with. Can you talk about somebody who came in just off the street and then all of a sudden worked with you a couple months and they have an ongoing business? Do you have any of those stories floating around?
So I have been with the organization since October.
Oh, okay, not that long. Okay.
Yeah. So launching a business is typically, it's a process, and it takes a lot of passion and a lot of dedication. And so I have had amazing interactions with our local entrepreneurs. And it's just so uplifting to see their passion and their energy and their drive. And you can't help but get excited with them, for them. And I can say that depending on where people are when they first engage with us is how long that process takes. But I have had some amazing clients that are progressing through those stages from idea to planning to implementation to actually launching. And so that's a beautiful process and just so fulfilling to be part of.
And
But Zuri would probably be a
I was
better
going to say,
person.
Zuri, of course, has been with it longer. Same thing too. So in the number of years you've been there, have you seen, I guess, a success story, somebody who started with nothing and then graduated and all of a sudden they have an ongoing business? Do you have a bunch of those?
We have a bunch of those. Yes, tons of them. And I want to say that sometimes it takes a village, not only our center to be part of that success story, right? We had tons of partners that work with us and all of us support that one business. But we have, if you go in our website under the blogs, you can see some of the most recent ones. But we have worked with painting companies where they were working for someone else, but because of our lending and technical assistance, they were able to purchase a van and materials to run their own painting company, and that hire and their spouse to do the accounting. We have a lady that runs our conference. She is our conference planner, and she was working a full-time job. We hired her to help us to put this conference together. And now she left her job to be a full-time event planner. And she did that through receiving the technical assistance, not the lending, but the technical support that we were able to provide. We had landscaping businesses, a person that got out of jail and was not able to get funding, especially any federal funding for that loan. And we ended up giving them funding from a private funder. So we were able to be a little bit more flexible. And then this person ended up having contracts with the government after that to do some work in the city and hire people that were also incarcerated before and build that team. So I can go on and on. We just have one that is a salon. She was running a salon, but wanted to add the nail section of it. And thank you to our technical assistant and loan, she was able to add that section and hire a full-time person for that position.
And back to the one example you mentioned, I think I know who you're talking about, the event planner. So she helped you folks, but now she's doing this on her own as a separate business entity,
She is, yeah, she's everywhere.
which is very, very cool. In terms of the folks you work with, say, for example, that event planner, is she doing that now, not out of a storefront? She's doing it out of her home, or she's doing virtually, or?
Both home and virtually.
Okay, so that's something else that, you work with business, I guess, the scope of from soup to nuts. But let me ask you this. Do you sometimes work with a business and you're doing them a big favor where you work with them, especially maybe April on the intake, and you work with them a couple of months, and then they decide that maybe this isn't for them. Does that ever happen as well?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And
Talk about that being
oftentimes,
good. Yeah.
oftentimes, because we want people to succeed and we want people to thrive. And just because someone has a business idea
Right.
doesn't mean it's the same thing as a business opportunity. And the last thing that we would want is for someone to have an idea that's not commercially viable and to invest their time, their effort, their money, their thought capital into something that will eventually just not be sustainable. And so that's one of the services that we offer is that assessment to see, is the marketplace something that will sustain this? Because that's the last thing that we would want is to somebody to end up in over their heads. Obviously, the entrepreneurs make all of their own decisions. We supply resources and information, but absolutely. And sometimes people's life changes, like your circumstances change. And so sometimes maybe the dream isn't right now, but that work is never wasted. And so that's something that someone can come back to later.
And one of the great things I think you folks do is help people come to the realization that, like you said, an idea is not necessarily guaranteed success, but also that as an entrepreneur, they deserve to be paid themselves, because I don't know if you've seen this, Zuri, but I've done some work for the for AV Tech, the Small Business Center. There's so many people talk about all the money they're making, but they never pay themselves. I don't know if you see that at all, but it's just incredible. They don't realize that they shouldn't work 50 or 60 hours a week for nothing. And is that something you see happen, that they forget to pay themselves? You ever have that?
Yeah, we see that happens a lot. And I know April earlier in this conversation mentioned that being a small business owner is a beautiful thing. And I agree with her 100%. But the other side of that is that I read that small business owners are the only crazy people that stop working 40 hours to work 80 and not get paid. So a lot of the time, and this is part of the technical assistant education, a lot of the time when we are working with business owners, they have so many projects and they're paying everyone and they're doing estimates, but they're not paying themselves and they're not taking into consideration the time that they're using. So even if they pay themselves, they don't count, like, let's say the landscaping business. He has to run to Lowe's many times when something is missing. He has to sometimes pay for lunch. And then they just don't take that into consideration. And by the time they run their numbers, the business owner makes less money than anyone else in that project. So it's a very common thing that we see with the small businesses.
I used to see it with the Subway, the franchise, that you always see Subway, very profitable franchise, and some of them make $100,000, $200,000 a year, but they worked 80 hours a week. They had 6 members of the family working there. So if you break it down, and people need to break it down, they're making $2.37 an hour, but even though it sounds good. So I guess talk about that process, that where does that education come into play? Is that through coursework? Is that one-on-one counseling? How do you make people realize this, that they should expect to make some money if they're own business? Where does that come in?
Yeah. It comes in many ways, and April can probably speak on this a little bit more, but we have group trainings. The idea is for somebody, if we have somebody that comes in with no knowledge, we want them to take a training first, and we'll let them know what training will be the best fit. After that training, we want them to write the questions down and talk to us about specific areas that they think that they need the most help. However, if we are working with a loan application, that question is always going to be there at first. So depending, I will say it is case by case, and April, feel free to step in on that as well.
Yeah, it's a great question. And it's something that, Blaine, I totally agree with you. It's something that is honestly part of every single intake conversation that we have. Because another one of the things, so as a serial entrepreneur myself, I really understand that this is your passion, this is your brainchild, this is your baby, and you pour all of your heart and soul into it and are deeply invested in its success. One of the very few words of caution that I personally give out, but I give it to everybody, is as you're building this business, make sure it works for you. And as an entrepreneur, just as you're building this, you're the architect. So be very conscious about what it is that you're wanting to get out of this, and make sure that you own the business, that it doesn't own you. Because we can end up working, 16 hours a day for months on end with no break. And as Zuri mentioned, when that loan, anyone that comes in the door and they're talking about their grand ideas and all the things and all the ways that it's going to give back to the community, I let them talk. And then if it doesn't come up, I always circle back. So what are you getting out of this? Do you have bills you need to pay? Oh, yes. Okay. Well, do you have a number that this business needs to supply? So we always touch on that. And as Zuri mentioned, another question that I always ask is, do you have a breakdown of prices? Do you know what it costs you to be in business and what you're going to charge for your services? It's within the first 5 minutes of me talking. They get to talk first, but that's one of my very first questions, because it is so important. Because as Zuri said, I had an aunt that was a hairdresser for 23 years and was wanting to retire and didn't know if she could, and her nephew did her taxes, and between the chair fee that she was paying and all the other fees and the cost of her services and the products that she was using, she was losing money every year. So that price breakdown, the cost of your goods and services and your overhead and paying yourself has to be part of that, versus the price that you put to the consumer. Those have to be in alignment, or you don't have a business, you have a very expensive hobby.
And so on target, because so many people don't realize that, that they're not making any money on this. Let me ask you both another question. So after they work with you, they go to some of the trainings, you work with them on one-on-one basis, and they get the business off the ground. Are you still there for them, or do they come back to you after the fact, or is this an ongoing relationship, or what happens?
Yeah, the answer is yes. It is an ongoing relationship, especially if there is a loan in place. We do what is called post-loan technical assistance, meaning that after they receive the funding, we want to make sure that they are successful so they can pretty much pay us back, and then we can reuse the money for another business, and also to make sure that they have what is needed. So we do that in several ways. We do site visits on individual one-on-one coaching, and then we also share with them every training, every event, anything that we feel that will be a benefit to that business, we'll do that. Now, the women's business centers are centers for startup businesses. We do work with businesses that are spending, but our curriculums are not that far. We partner with SCORE and SBTDC. Those two programs are also under the SBA, and they do have more advanced curriculums for businesses that are on a different level. So we make sure when April does that business need to identify if we are the right program that they need to work with, or maybe another partner that they can go to.
If you can, I just want to talk about one other thing. You and I were talking off the air, Zuri, that you've been in business for a bunch of years and you have a 10th anniversary coming up. What's that all about?
Yeah, so we are celebrating our 10th year anniversary. So we were launched in 2014, and every year we have an annual conference where we bring together a group of women entrepreneurs and partners. We have keynote speakers and breakout sections, and it's just a fun day. But this year, we are going to make it a little bit more special because it's a big celebration. So it's going to be on, so far, May 16 from 5:30 to 9 p.m. at the venue in Asheville downtown. More details to come. We're still working on all the logistics, but we would love for people to sign up to get a newsletter so you get that invitation out or you get informed. We think that last year our event was sold out with over 300 people. Sadly, this year we can only take 200. So we know that those tickets are going to be sold out quickly. So keep an eye, stay in touch with April or myself if you want to know more. But yes, we would love to see the community there celebrating with us.
And you mentioned to sign up. How do they sign up? You said for the newsletter. What do they do?
Yeah, when you go in our website and you scroll down, it will ask you if you want to sign up, subscribe for our newsletter
Okay,
at
cool.
every page in our website.
And last question I'll ask April, if I can. So you've been here now several months. What's the favorite part of your job?
Talking to the entrepreneurs. I mean, just flat out. Zuri, it's the same thing, right? It fills your day with joy. And I would love to kind of circle back to that, what happens after, they've used our
Yeah.
services and they go on. Zuri has cultivated such a beautiful community. It truly is a community. Everything that we do, we use our past clients, and it's so much fun. And we have people stop in the office that have been previous clients and give us updates on what's going on. And then there's people that, like, I'm doing great here in Asheville and you guys helped me start, but now I need packaging help. And I'm like, ooh, I don't have a packaging person. Let me get back to you. And so between just the joy and the passion and the enthusiasm of the entrepreneurs, and then working with our partners like Eagle Mountain Street, Black Wall Street, the Hispanic Chamber, Mountain Bizworks, SCORE, SBTDC. There's so many people getting together and meeting the people in that community and seeing how much support there is here locally in WNC for entrepreneurs. It really helps bring home why this is such a great region for entrepreneurship and small businesses.
And as you kind of mentioned, and also Zuri's background ties into it, Mountain Bizwork experience, is that even though there are so many different organizations, they seem to work amazingly well together. I haven't seen, you would think there'd be some conflict perhaps down the road, but I've never seen that, which is kind of cool. And so I ask you, Zuri, the same last question. You've been there for a while. Your favorite part of your job?
I enjoy very, very much to see the success in these businesses and meet the business owners. But I think after so many years, I'm now on a stage that I really enjoy supporting the team to have what we need to keep providing the services that we provide. So I'm not in the community as much as I used to be. I enjoy it very much, but I think I enjoy it more to know that our program is growing and I'm part of that growth with the team.
And how big is your team, approximately?
So right now we are 3 full-time, including myself, and we have 6 business consultants that are third-party consultants. In our organization overall, we are 38 members.
Okay, very nice. And once
Yes.
again, if you could repeat the contact information, there are 2 ways. If you would go slowly, the website and then the phone number, if you would. Zuri.
Yeah, so you can visit our website at www.bcnc.org. And our phone number is 828-348-7782.
Okay, I'd like to thank you both for joining me on this edition of the Blaine's World webcast. I'd also like to thank my producer, Cappy Tassetti. And I now know next time I'm at the Asheville Mall to stop by, or hopefully call you first, but stop by and I know where you are. So thanks very much. I'm going to sign
Thank
off
you.
now and stay with me for a second right afterwards. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.